Our next workshop is called Building a Competitive Application. Presenting, we have Dr. Antonina Capurro. She is the visiting assistant professor from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas School of Dental Medicine. Please give a round of applause.
Okay, let's see, is it on? Okay. Okay, guys, so we're not talking about, let's see where this is. So we're not going to talk about doing fixed prosthodontics. You guys don't want to learn about how to make a bridge? No? Yes, hopefully you say, yes, I want to learn about dentistry. I want to go to dental school. I want to learn how to get there. So as Rami introduced me, my name is Dr. Antonina Capurro. I'm from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I was actually where you guys are. I was trying to find out how to apply for dental school. What do I need to do to be strong? How do I stand out? What is dental school all about? So I applaud you guys for being here today. This is the first step in getting some good information about making yourself competitive. I actually graduated from the University of Las Vegas School of Dental Medicine. So I think I can offer you a unique perspective because I was a dental student, now I'm a faculty member, so I've kind of seen both sides of things. So if you have any questions, I want to kind of make this as interactive as possible. So we'll stop and answer questions along the way. So to begin with, I just wanted to tell you guys, hopefully everybody here is going to be applying for dental school. How many of you guys are applying this cycle or about to apply? A couple people? And how about next cycle? And the following year? Okay. Anybody just exploring careers? A couple people? Okay. So I just listed here a little bit of information about what dentistry is. So obviously it's a branch of the healing arts and sciences. We work with the teeth, the gums, the hard and soft tissues of the oral cavities. It's a very dynamic health profession. Dentists are also very successful, but hopefully that's not the only reason why you're looking at this profession. And hopefully in the future, it will continue to be strong. We've got a lot of baby boomers that are aging now, so there's a lot of need for removable prosthodontics. We live in a very aesthetic society, so people are taking care of their teeth. They're wanting those nice, bright, white smiles. So cosmetic dentistry, there's a great need for that as well. And one of the really nice things about dentistry is that you don't have to go into residency program after you graduate. You can go straight from dental school into your profession. You can open your own office. You can get a master's degree in business or public health. You can take your career in a lot of different areas. So that's the really nice thing about dentistry that I've found is that you're not kind of just stuck in one box. You have a wide range of things that you can do with that information that you've worked hard to learn. So today we're going to talk about the application cycle. And I think to be a competitive applicant, you have to understand what's involved in that application and just what your competition is. So this is some information from ADIA. So in the 2011-2012 cycle, there were 12,039 applicants. For 5,311 of those were enrolled in school. So that's 44.1% of those that applied were enrolled, matriculated into dental school. So that's less than half of all of those students that applied actually got in. So it's pretty competitive. So just for some perspective, I'm going to show you what we do at UNLV. So these are our numbers. So we get over 2,000 applications a year. Those 85 students there, So those 85 students there are our Nevada pool. Those other 2,000 are out of state. So you'll also want to find out from the school that you're applying to what their preference is. If they're an in-state school and they need to take students that are residents of that state, or if they are open to students from any state. So of those 2,000, a little over 2,000, we invited 451 for an interview. So that's about 22% of those that applied were invited for an interview. And then of those, 15% decided to come to the interview. Just a point here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Okay, so we had 6 no-shows. If you decide that you don't want to interview at that school, please call. Call the admissions office, let them know, I got accepted somewhere else, I'm not interested anymore, thank you very much, but you can use that spot for somebody else. If you're one of those people that no-shows and then you apply next year, and we see that a lot, that's kind of the kiss of death. And you'd be surprised, the admissions officers are talk to one another. And so if you do that at one school, the other school's going to find out about it. So just make sure you're professional and you give them courtesy. So again, of those 2,000, a little over 2,000 applicants, 209 were accepted. And a lot of schools will do this. So we only have 80 to 84 seats that we're going to accept for our final class size. But we're going to accept over that class size because we know you're going to hold multiple seats at schools. So of those 209, 84 were accepted to the final class, matriculated into the final class. So pretty competitive out there for you. So you want to make sure that your application is standing out. So let's talk about the process, how this all works. So most colleges are going to require that you have at least 60 to 90 credits of college work. You're also going to need to take the dental admissions exam. You're going to need to submit the online application through the via ADSAS, and the website's on the board for you. You want to get all your information in as close to that June 1st window as possible. You want to be the first person in line to have your application finished. It's also very expensive for you to do this application process. $244 for the first school, $90 after that. So do your research. Find out about the schools. Find out what school you think is going to be a good fit for you, where you want to spend the next 4 years of your life, and then go ahead and apply to those schools. It's perfectly fine to apply to more than one school. You should apply to more than one school. There's probably a handful of schools or more that look good to you, but you don't need to apply to 60 or 70 schools. Sometimes when I see that, I think they're not really that interested in me. They're just shopping around, and they're trying to see what schools are out there. And then we always get those kind of answers, well, this school's my number one, So we kind of wonder about that when we see something like that. You're also going to have to get your official transcripts and letters of recommendation sent to ADSAS. So again, you're going to want to start this process early. Get organized. If you're not applying this cycle, this is a good time to start. Make a folder, get everything together, start making lists of all the activities that you've been involved in. There's a lot of information that's going to go into this application, so you want to make sure you don't miss anything. So you're also going to want to find out if the school that you're applying to has any supplemental information that that's specific to their school. So you're also going to want to find out if they have any specific prerequisites, if there's any specific hours of shadowing that they're looking for. Anything that's institution specific, you're going to want to find out about that. Once you've got everything together, you've got your completed packet, then you're going to wait for the invitation to interview. And the earliest date to find out if you've been accepted to the school is December 1st. And then after that point, you'd wait to matriculate into the fall. So this is kind of what our timeline looks like at UNLV. And you can see that it's pretty much going to take you the whole year, this process, to get into dental school. So again, start early. The other point I want to make is that if you think that you have sent everything into ADSAS, you haven't heard from the school that you've applied to, call the admissions office, find out if they've received everything. They might be waiting on one letter of recommendation, or maybe ADSAS wasn't able to verify your transcript. It never got to them. You don't know, and then if you call too late, all the interview spots have filled out, even though you started the process to get in for June. So just make sure that you call. This is, you have to take responsibility. This is your career, this is your profession. It's hopefully something you're very passionate about and you care about, so go ahead and make those extra efforts. Okay, so this is what you're going to fill out through ADSAS. You're going to have an academic background portion, the dental admission test, some background information. They're going to ask you about your commitment to dentistry, your experience. There's going to be an essay portion, and then your letters of recommendation. So we're going to talk in detail about each of these sections and kind of what admissions officers are looking for. Okay, so first off is the academic background. So there's going to be a section on there about your science GPA and your cumulative GPA. And this is actually going to be verified by the transcripts that you send in to ADSES. So ideally, we're looking for a 3.4 science and a 3.5 cum. This is to make you competitive. At UNLV, we don't look at the plus and minuses of the grades, so sometimes that kind of boosts people up just a little bit. We try to make it an even playing field for everybody. Now, if you don't have this ideal GPA, that doesn't mean you're not going to get into dental school. There's a lot of other factors that we're looking at. We're also going to look at your college history. We're going to see, did you just take community college credits, and that's why your GPA is so high, and maybe just a couple classes at the university that you struggled in? Or did you take a lot of university classes and you've excelled in those? Everybody has a different reason for going to community college. I went to community college myself, for financial reasons. But you need to make sure that you at least take some upper division science courses at the university so you can prove your ability to handle graduate work. We're also going to look at the degrees that you've received or anything that you're currently pursuing. So if you're reapplying and you've decided to do a master's degree, you want to make sure that you've at least completed a semester or two in that program before you reapply. So we can see, again, that you've taken those courses, you've done well, you've understood the material, you're able to handle those graduate level courses. So you also want to find out, again, about your institution's prerequisites. Do they just have the normal biology, organic chemistry, English, physics kind of prerequisites, or do they have something specific? Do they want physiology and anatomy and biochemistry? It's really good to see an applicant that's already taken those courses, you're kind of ready to go, or you have them planned. If you haven't taken them, that's fine, but we want to see at least that you've planned to take them at some point. And there's a section on that application where you can list that, all the classes that you're planning to take. Again, we're also going to be able to see semester by semester what kind of classes you took. Did you withdraw from classes? Did you fail a semester early on and then you did better? Nothing's really hidden from your admissions officer. So if something went wrong your first semester of college, don't try to hide it. We're going to know about it. You can make that a strength instead of a weakness by showing your improvement. Okay, so here's the question. So what if I'm not a science major? Am I going to be at a disadvantage? I get this question a lot. Everybody thinks dental school is like the science club for nerdy kids. But if you're not a science major, that's great. You're going to have an interesting perspective to bring to your classroom discussions. We have a lot of students that are business majors, art majors. It's okay to have another degree. But what we want to know is, can you handle those science courses? So you want to make sure that if you have another major, that you've at least taken those prerequisites already. You did well on the DAT portions of the bio portion, the chemistry portions, so we can see, yes, indeed, even though you did something else, you can handle the science. Okay, so another question. My first year of college was difficult, so now my GPA is low. What do I do? So again, just because you started off a little rocky in your college career doesn't mean you're not going to become a dental student. A good way to boost your GPA is to take some hard science classes. Maybe it's even your senior year. Try to pack those in. We like to see full semesters, so not just 1 or 2 science classes, but if you can take a full semester of courses and do well, that's really going to help your application. And if you've already graduated and you had a low GPA, then think about a master's degree in a science field. It's not going to hurt you. You know, taking science classes now is only going to help you as a future dental student. Okay, so the DAT exam, again, something that's required for you to take. It's required by all U.S. dental schools for you to take this exam. They're going to test you on biology, general chemistry, organic chemistry. There's a reading comprehension portion, a quantitative portion, and that spatial perceptual portion. The exam's 4 hours and 15 minutes, and it's a very significant part of your application. We're really going to look heavily to see if you can do well on this exam. Now, everybody's going to have a day where nothing goes right. You know, your car broke down, your cat was crying, you know, everything went wrong, and you didn't do well on the DAT. If you've done well in your science courses, you've got a strong GPA, and then suddenly you've got 16s and 15s on the DAT, we're going to think something happened. You know, you had one bad day, everybody has it. You can retake the DAT up to 3 times. So if you didn't do well, talk to your admissions officer, find out what they think about your application, and retake it. Most schools are only going to take the highest, most recent score. So whatever you got the most recent scores, that's what they're going to look at. At UNLV, we're actually going to look at the highest of each section for your 2 most recent DAT scores. So if you retook the test and you did better in biology, but last time you did better in the quant portion, we're going to look at that. And we're going to take the highest of both scores for a formula that we use to rank our applicants. So that's kind of in your favor. And then ideally, to be competitive, you want 19s and 20s on the DAT. But again, if you have less than 19 and 20 on a particular section, not overall, but just on a particular section, you'd want to talk to your admissions officer and see if the rest of your application is strong enough to get you an interview. Okay, so we just talked about this. If your DAT was not strong, you can retake it up to 3 times. We do want to see, though, that the next time you take it, you improve. So don't just think, I'm just going to cram real quick and take it, even though I've got finals and everything else going on. If you retake it, try and do better than you did the first time. Show us that you can do well on that exam. Okay, so academic background is only a part of it, and your DAT, which we carefully evaluate. And we're looking to see if you can really handle the rigors of dental school. And why? This is from UNLV. This is what we have. We have a 12-month calendar with 3 equal terms, so 11 terms total for dental school, about 5,000 contact hours, over 300 credit hours. And if we put that into perspective of undergraduate semesters, it'd be 10 years of full-time undergraduate coursework that you're going to take in 4 years. So you can just get a feel for how much information you're going to get as a dental student, and why it's so important that we as admissions officers see that on your transcript evaluation, on that DAT exam, you did well and you're able to handle that. If we invite you to the school, if we accept you into the school, then we believe that you can handle that coursework. We believe that you have all the qualifications to be able to handle this kind of rigorous curriculum. So academics is just a part of it, right? You're going to be working with patients. You're going to be in a very unique profession where people are going to be in pain. They're going to need you to communicate clearly with them and to actually do the procedure well. So there's a section on the application that's going to ask you about your background information. So they're going to ask you about how many times you've applied, activities that you're involved in, what your parents do, your contact information, what high school you went to, just about everything you can think of, you can put down on that form. Also, if you're a disadvantaged background, you have a section where you can talk about that, maybe how that's playing into your pursuit of dentistry, or how you've had to overcome obstacles in your life to get to where you are today. Be honest about your academic performance as well. Again, there's nothing really that's going to be hidden from us. And again, you can use that to your advantage. If something happened in your life, maybe personally, that affected your college career, or college was just very stressful for you in the beginning, you can bring that up in your interview to tell your admissions officer, now I'm determined, I've got the passion and the perseverance to make it through as a dental student. There's also a section about your criminal record. And dental schools now are actually asking students before they matriculate to get a criminal background check. We don't want you to go through 4 years of expense and study and hard work to find out That wild night in Vegas is going to keep you from getting your dental license. So just things to be aware of. Okay, there's also going to be a section about your commitment to dentistry and your experience. So why is this so important? Well, we obviously want to evaluate your commitment to the profession and your knowledge about what you're getting into. We want to see, did you just begin shadowing, or did you shadow maybe 5 years ago? How much shadowing have you done, but what's the time frame? It's kind of more what we look at UNLV. We want to see that there's consistency there. There's also, so you can get involved in your pre-dental clubs. That's a great place to start. Some of the universities will have dental clinics that you can volunteer in, or health fairs that you might want to get involved in. Another really great thing are enrichment programs. So at UNLV, we have a dental simulation course. Let's see, I think it's UCLA has the Vinmar Solutions, and UOP has the Pacific Pride Day. These are really great programs for you to sign up for. They usually involve a fee, but you'll get some hands-on experience. You'll get to really see what the school looks like, what it is to be a dental student. You know, when you shadow, you see kind of the finished product, and you don't really get to see the journey to get there. And in these enrichment programs, you actually get to sit, like in our simulation course, you get to sit in the sim lab and experience life as a dental student. So it's a 2-day course where you get to meet admissions officers, go through an interview process, have a lecture, really see, you know, is this something that I really want to do for the next 4 years of my life? And hopefully it sparks more interest in you and makes you really excited about the profession. On this portion of the application, they're also going to ask you about your awards. So again, start early, writing down activities that you've been involved in, awards that you've received, volunteer time that you've put in. And then, you know, while you're making that list, I would suggest write a brief synopsis about what that activity involved so that you don't forget by the time it's time to get all your application together. Okay, so let's take a look at 2 different examples of what students might put into that section. So they're going to ask you, this is for your dental experience, what you did and who supervised you. So here we have our supervisor, Dr. Farfel, 200 hours in her office. She was a general dentist, volunteer work. So the first description says, I learned many dental-related things. The doctor was nice to all her patients. I had a great time in the office. What do you guys think about that one? Not specific, yeah. So 200 hours that person was in that office, and that's all they could say about it. So as an admissions officer, we're going to wonder, what did you do? You know, maybe you just kind of stood around. Maybe you weren't really that engaged. Maybe you really didn't, you weren't that excited about the opportunity to be in that office, versus the second one, so same number of hours, and she says, I learned basic skills, including taking and developing x-rays, charting and sterilizing tools and equipment. I observed and learned superb professional communication skills. Because of this experience, I'm even more confident that the dental profession will be an excellent fit for my unique personality and talents. What do you think about this one? Right? It's specific. They talk about what they learned in the office. They talk about how that's playing into their pursuit of dentistry. So now I'm looking at this one and I'm thinking, wow, they really learned some great skills. They're able to communicate well. They're able to turn that experience into something that I can look at and understand what kind of skills they've learned from this. So you don't want to make it too long. You don't need to write an essay when you do this, but you want to try and be as specific as possible. Think of it kind of like on your resume. You know, if you're applying for a job, you wouldn't say, you know, I worked in the mailroom and it was nice. You'd be more specific about all the attributes, all the characteristics that you gained while you were working there. Same kind of thing that you want to do here. So again, be specific. Presentation is very important. Okay, the essay portion. This is really important. So all of the information that we've gotten so far, your academic portion, the DAT, your background, your dental shadowing experience, we're trying to put together a picture of who is this person? Who is this student? Why do they want to be a dentist? And why would they be a good dentist? So the essay is your time to tell us what you think about yourself. Who are you as a professional? Who are you as a student? Maybe your journey. You want to take us on your journey on your essay. So important to remember that it's 1 page maximum, so you need to be clear and concise. You kind of have to get to the point about what is the most important thing I need to let that admissions officer know. Also check for grammatical errors. This is really easy. Have somebody reread it. Have your friend reread it. Take it to your college's writing center. Have them edit it for you. There's no reason nowadays with computers that you can't do the simple spell check and find all those little errors. It looks very sloppy if you have a lot of grammatical errors. So if English is not your native language and this might be difficult for you to write the essay, there's writing centers on every university campus that will help you put it together. So you want to, some questions to answer in your essay. You want to talk about who you are. And when you're done with that essay, kind of stand back for a minute and read it and say, is this a real reflection of who I am as a person? If this is the only thing that the admissions officer gets, is this really what I want them to think about me? What kind of journey have you been on? Talk about that. Maybe things weren't easy for you. So explain how that's made you the person that you are today. Also talk about why you want to go to dental school, why dentistry is important to you. You can be, again, honest about your mistakes and talk about your strengths and weaknesses. You really want to stand back from your essay and say, does it show my commitment? Does it show that I have those leadership strengths that they're looking for? Does it show that I have the discipline, that grit and determination, and that motivation to get me through dental school? And if it doesn't, then what do I need to change? Okay, so here's my tip. So besides the picture that you're going to send with your supplemental application, this essay is a real key component to who we are going to think you are as a person. So you really want to keep that in mind. And I would say don't make it overly sensational. We get a lot of essays where people start off talking about, I went to the dental office and there was blood and guts and it was crazy and I enjoyed it so much. And it has nothing to do with their essay. Try to make it a very honest essay about who you are. You all are so unique, and as a dental student, you're going to be unique. You want to take that admissions officer on your journey. Just really be clear about who you are. So again, don't be overly sensational. And one of the things I want to say too about the essay, so that's why it's a good idea to have somebody else read it that knows you well, that can maybe read your essay and say, you left out these really important parts about who you are, and I think you should put that in there. So that's a reason why I think, having somebody that knows you well, maybe even your mentor that you've been working with that's been trying to get you into dental school, have them go over the essay and see what suggestions they might have for you. So letters of recommendation. So now we've read your essay, so we know what you think about yourself. Now we want to get letters of recommendation from faculty and dentists that you've worked with that are going to tell us what they think about you. So most California schools are going to ask for 3 letters of recommendation. UNLV will require 4. So there's an academic portion to it and there's a dental portion. So the academic portion is going to come from faculty that you've worked with, so science professors or your pre-health committee. At UNLV, we look highly on that committee letter. A little bit more favorably than just on letters from science professors. The committee letter is usually a little bit more detailed. It might involve an interview, so we know that there's more comprehensive information in that committee letter than we might get from a science professor's letter. And then the dental portion of the letter. So you want to get a letter from a dentist that you shadowed. If we see that you spent those 200 hours with Dr. Farfel and you didn't get a letter of recommendation from her and that's the only dentist that you shadowed, we're going to wonder why you didn't ask her for a letter. Was there something that you did during that time with her that you guys just didn't get along or something went wrong, and she doesn't want to write you a letter, she wouldn't write you a good letter, we're going to start to wonder why that letter's not there. So be aware of that. Also, get letters from professors that you know. You don't want a letter from a professor, even if you got an AA+++, number 1 in the class, but he doesn't know who you are, and he can only say you're number 174. You don't want that kind of letter. That's not going to give us the information we need to make a decision about who you are as an applicant. You want to get a letter from somebody that knows you well. So maybe you did research, you were in their office all the time, asking them questions, you were engaged in the class. You know those professors that you feel you have a personal relationship with that can speak to your strengths. So that's the person that you want to ask for a letter of recommendation from. So really be smart about who you ask for that letter. And if you send in that committee letter and you send in your dental letter, you can also send in other letters as well. You can send in more than those two, okay? So don't think that that's going to stop you if there's somebody else that really wants to write a letter for you. So supplemental information, this again is school specific, so you're going to want to check the website of the schools that you're applying for. It's usually going to ask for some general information, so contact information, your DAT scores. If you're planning to retake the DAT, this is a good time to put that down. Let the school know, those scores that I have on there, I'm going to retake the DAT before the deadline to get everything in, so hold my application, I'm going to get you some better scores. And then usually if you do retake the DAT, you're going to have to send those official scores to ADSAS, but you can fax an unofficial copy to the school that you're applying to, so they can take your folder immediately out of hold and send it to the committee for review. You're also going to write down all the schools that you're applying to, so we'll know who else is looking at your application. And then really important, usually they're just a form that you're going to fill out. Try not to write it out. Try to type it up. It looks much better. You can put it on your computer and type it up and print it out. It'll look very professional. It's very messy when we see those words in hieroglyphics. You can barely read what the student's written down. Looks like you don't care. You kind of got sloppy. Maybe it was the last minute, and you just kind of rushed the supplemental. They do usually involve a fee. And then if there's anything that you wanted to say that wasn't in that essay, you can put it in a supplemental application. You can attach an extra paper, because you're going to mail them in, to that supplemental. And that's a really good area to talk about anything that's happened that you want to make sure the committee knows about so they can make a wise decision about you. You're also going to have to send in a picture of yourself. So you want to be smart about what picture you send, right? We're trying to make this image of who you are as a person, and this is all the information we have to go on so far. So you have this nice picture. What would you think of her? She looks pretty nice, right? She looks like my babysitter. So yeah, this looks like a good dental student. I could see her with a white coat on, versus this one. She might have good DAT scores, but now I'm kind of wondering about her professionally. Maybe you're not going to make the best decisions. So your interview. Okay, so now we've looked at your application. You had a completed application. You went into review. We decided to send you, to invite you for an interview. You've come to the school. This is what I call the speed dating round of the application process. So it's more like a blind date, I guess, because we don't really know you that well yet, and you don't know us that well yet, so we're trying to find out about each other. Are we going to be a good fit? And unlike most dating scenarios, at the end of this, the admissions officer could invite you to come to that school for 4 years of your life. And I've never met any guy that, asked me to marry him after a speed dating. So, you want to make sure that you're really looking closely at the school, just like they're going to look at you. You're probably going to go on a tour, really look around. You're probably going to be really nervous that day, but try to remember that they're interviewing you and you're interviewing them too. This is a relationship. So this is kind of that last piece of the puzzle to determine who you are as an applicant. And what we saw on paper is that really who you are. So these are some of the questions that admissions officers are going to ask of themselves when they're talking to you during that interview. So they're going to want to find out what type of interpersonal skills you have. Even if you're really nervous, try to just calm down. Try to be comfortable when you talk with them. Try to make it a very easy conversation. They might ask you some tricky questions. If you don't know, you don't know. There's nothing you can do about that. But try not to be flustered by that. That's what they're trying to see. If you don't know the information, do you panic and it's the end of the world and you don't know how to handle it? What are you going to do when you're in the dental chair and your patient wants to leave and your faculty, say, come on, I got to get to lunch, and you're right in the middle of that crown prep? What are you going to do? You're going to panic and walk out of the room? You can't. You don't have that option. So you have to be able to handle stressful situations. And that's what we want to see here. You also have to be able to communicate properly with those patients. So this is a big part of things that we're going to look for in the interview. So are you somebody that can be respected? Are you somebody that's non-judgmental? Are you kind to people? A lot of times I think you think the interview is just that one-on-one portion with the admissions officer, and it's really not. You'd be surprised. We watch you from the minute you come to the minute you leave. And sometimes you'd be surprised about the things that we're going to pick up on. We had somebody that needed a ride to the airport, and we had actually two people that were waiting for a ride. One taxi came, and the person said, no, I'm sorry, this is my taxi. You got to wait for the other one. I'm off. So what do we think about that person? I mean, right there and then, they showed us they're not willing to share. They're going to the same place, and they're not willing to share a ride there with a fellow applicant after the interview. I mean, now we have a different flavor of who that person is. Maybe they're not really what they showed us in the interview. So really be careful on that day. You want to be as honest as possible, because sometimes it might not work out. Maybe that school you wanted to go to really isn't a good fit. And kind of like dating, you're kind of playing that game, pick me. But maybe that's not the place for you. And the admissions officer is going to be able to see that. And if they tell you no, don't take it as a personal rejection. Maybe there's another school that would be a better fit that's going to accept you. Or maybe you need to strengthen yourself and reapply the next year so that when you get into dental school, it won't be such a struggle for you. So some other questions they're going to ask you, or they're going to ask of themselves during that interview. So are you somebody that can grow from criticism? Are you a student that we would enjoy having? This is really key. Do we want to spend 4 years together? What kind of relationship is this going to be? Are you somebody that's going to bring something unique to our school and to the profession? Maybe you already have a bachelor's degree. Maybe you weren't that science major, and you're going to bring something really great to the school. You want to make sure that you tell that person about that. Will you succeed against great odds? Are you able to communicate clearly and comfortably? So again, this is my tip. You're interviewing the school just like they're interviewing you. I think when you think of that, it kind of takes that pressure off, because you're going to get information about the school, you're going to see the school, you're going to have to decide, is this curriculum right for me? Are these professors right for me? Do I really want to spend 4 years here? Hopefully you do, but you may not. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So applicant A here has a science GPA of 3.6, cumulative 3.7, DATs, let's see, bio 23, reading 23, academic average 21, majority of university credits, heavy course loads, upper division classes, graduating with their bachelor's, first time applying, lots of experience, lots of leadership positions, they volunteered, well-written essay, positive letters of recommendation. What do you think? We're going to let them in? Probably, right? This is kind of the obvious one. Everything's pretty good. So yeah, we're probably going to let him in. But we're going to wonder in the back of our mind, has he ever failed anything? Probably not. So when he gets into dental school and he gets into a curriculum that's really stressful, he can either succeed or he can decide, man, I've never failed before. I'd rather not fail anything and quit than do this. So we're going to let him in, but we're going to make sure that he knows it's okay to fail. It's okay to struggle. We want to see you succeed in dental school. And most dental schools now are changing their philosophy from that, look to your right, look to your left, these people won't be here when you graduate, to we want to see everybody succeed together. And if dental school is the first time that you don't do well in something, it's okay. You're going to get through it, and we're all going to get through it together. Okay, so applicant B, let's see. So his GPA is 3.0, cumulative 3.25, DAT is 18, 19, his academic average is 18. He actually took it twice. So he took it the first time with some 14s and 16s, so pretty low. Then he retook it and got 18s and 17s, so did a little bit better. So at UNLV, we would look at these scores, and we would say, okay, in this section he did better, so we'll take that one. This section he did better. Let's see, just about everywhere he did better, so we'll take those two. But if that wasn't the case, we would look at the old score for the highest. So, some schools won't do that. They're just going to look at the latest DAT score. So we look at the majority of credits are at community college, AA, and theater. So now we're going to wonder if that's a true, if his GPA is true, or if those were just really easy classes that he took to kind of boost the GPA. Works part-time, so maybe that's a reason why the GPA is a little bit lower. Medium course load, not many prerequisites taken, getting his BS far in the future, so maybe kind of just beginning college. Second time applying. So now what do we think? Second time applying, now we really want to see, did you improve? What was wrong last time, and did you, have you become stronger? So no involvement in pre-dental clubs, 20 hours of shadowing experience, kind of minimal there. Same essay as last year, same letters of recommendation. He calls in February to find out why he hasn't gotten an invitation. So I showed you guys the timeline. What do you think about February? It's too late. So we've already started interviewing people in September. By December, we were sending out invitations to matriculate into the class. So by February, we've probably stopped interviewing. So what do you think about this guy? Are you going to accept him or not? So what do you think he could have done to improve his application? Yeah, all good things. So you might not know this, but once you apply to a school, we're going to keep that file. So we're going to store it away, and if you reapply and we see, oh, he's applied before, we're going to go pull your old folder, and we're going to review them both. So that's how we can know it's the same essay, it's the same letters of recommendation. Nothing's changed. The student, I'm going to wonder, are they really interested in dentistry? Do they really care about this profession? They didn't even take the time to write another essay. Something's got to have changed in a year. So why didn't they tell me about that? Why didn't they tell me how they've improved? I need to know that. Obviously, they weren't strong enough last year. So those points that kind of held them behind last year need to be improved upon. So if you don't get in the first time, make sure you talk to your admissions officer, find out what's holding you back, and then improve upon those things. So again, we're going to wonder, are they committed to dentistry here? And then what advice would you guys give him? To get involved? Yeah. What else? What else would you say? Do you think he should go to the university maybe and take some more classes? That's good. So take some more science classes. So we can see he's a theater major, so maybe he hasn't taken that many science classes before. Maybe if he just took those science classes and then took his DAT, we'd even see higher scores. And that's a common mistake, is taking your science courses either very early and then taking your DAT a couple years later, and you've completely forgotten that information. I mean, my goodness, if I took the DAT now, I took organic chemistry, I wouldn't know one formula to another because it was so long ago. So you want to make sure that those courses are fresh in your mind when you take that exam. Okay, let's move on to the last one. So applicant C. So this person has a 3.0 science, 2.96 GPA, DAT scores 19, quantitative 17, reading 18, mix of community college and university credits, began college with D's and F's, but then improved to get A's and B's. So medium course loads, finished all the science prerequisites, graduating next year with a BS, first time applying, recent involvement in pre-dental clubs, consistent shadowing experience for 2 years. Essay has some grammatical errors, which is a no-no, but was full of passion for dentistry and positive letters of recommendation. What do you say? Yes. You guys are a nice crowd here. These are really nice students here. Okay, so even though he doesn't have those really high scores like we saw the first time, I put in some other information in here. So he met with his admissions officer too and asked them about his application before he applied. So he made sure whatever they saw, any red flags they saw in his application, that he took care of those before he applied. He's also volunteered at the dental school and been involved in the pre-dental club and made connections with the faculty. This is really, really good right here. So now he knows the faculty at the school. People have now had a relationship with him. Remember that whole thing about the application, we're trying to figure out who you are. So now this person has actually gone to the school and said, you know, this is who I am, I'm really interested about dentistry, and made those connections, made that relationship. That faculty that's sitting on that admissions committee, even if those scores are not that great, they're gonna say, I want this guy in the school. This is this kind of student that we need to have. Excellent dentist right here. And then his pre-health advisor counseled him as well. Pre-health advisor probably knows the admissions officer at the school. You'd be surprised what a great resource your pre-health advisor is. And if you haven't met with them at your college or your university, I would recommend you do that right away, because they're going to have those connections for you and that advice that you're going to need. Okay, so real quick, dental school is expensive. It's a great investment, but there's steps that you're going to need to do now. Credit reports that you might want to pull. Maybe you need to start getting things in order so you can get that financial aid. Our director of financial aid, Dr. Capurro, this is his number here. He'd be happy to talk to you if you have any questions. There's also some great video presentations at godental.org that I'd recommend you go ahead and watch. Some good information for you there. Let's see. Okay, so lastly, these are just the things that we went over. So to make yourself a strong applicant, apply early. These are the ideal GPAs, but again, we talked about some things that you can do if you're not that strong. Ideal DAT scores, get some dental experience, make sure that essay is well written. Apply early, call the school, and make sure you've got a completed application. If you fail a course, go ahead and retake it. If you don't get in the first time, reapply. Reapply, reapply. Eventually, you're going to get there. Get connected with the school. Don't be afraid to call the school. And make sure you thank other people along the way. Thank your professors. Thank the admissions officers if they meet with you. You want to keep a good taste in people's mouth about who you are as a person. Okay, and lastly, if you just want to write this down, this is the 2013 ADIA Official Guide to Dental Schools. All the information you need about the dental schools is here. All their statistics are posted, some information about their program, their mission statement, what they require for prerequisites. Everything's in this book. Your school library or your pre-health advisor should have a copy, so you can get that. Any questions? Sorry, I know we're right down to the last minute. Okay, well, thank you guys, and good luck on your journey into dental school.